So the anti-gravity field was created not by spinning brute mass, but by spinning an energy field around the stationary mass of the craft. And another confirmation that this is so came from the careful analysis of the engineering drawing of the craft, where it becomes obvious that there are no moving parts on the periphery that rotate around the stationary cabin in the middle, which means that you cannot spin the cabin for obvious reasons. The astronauts will go insane inside. So, this being so, obviously the Germans were using some superconductive material. I heard rumors that they produced room temperature superconductivity by lacing aluminum with mercury, a very simple, straightforward procedure, which has been kept by the Illuminati secret ever since. And thus they were powering the magnetic field generators on the periphery of the craft. And the final confirmation that this is an interplanetary craft came from very careful analysis of the engineering drawing. This is the standard German way of submitting engineering drawings for approval. This is probably a copy of some original sheet that came with the project. There are big compartments here, and I was curious, are these fuel tanks? What the hell are these? And then I saw this little thing here that looks like the drawing of a door on an engineering drawing, the way they draw doors in Europe in an architectural drawing. And I said, gee, if this is a whole floor, and these are the drawers to these floors, then we're talking about a 10-story tall building. 10 by 3 is 30 meters, exactly the size as they are giving here. The height of the craft is 30 meters. So another confirmation here. And finally, when I was reading the text, on the topmost and the lowermost floor it said Kommunikationsräume, which means the communication hall or the command post. The second floor, the next floor, was labeled Tagesräume, which is the mess hall, the crew compartment. And the third level from top and the third level from the bottom was labeled Schlafräume, the sleeping compartments. And we discussed this yesterday. A craft that can circle the Earth in less than an hour doesn't need sleeping compartments, because you don't have journey long enough around this planet to need sleeping compartments built in the craft. You don't have sleeping compartments in a street tramway, because the longest journey inside the city is maybe an hour. So that's how I realized from this Schlafräume label here that this was probably an interplanetary travel craft designed for such a travel. Finally, I found some drawings of the Zenger-Brand stratospheric suborbital skip bomber, the antipodal bomber, a bomber that could circle half the globe and deposit the bombs on the other side, and then glide almost and return to the initial point of firing into orbit, into suborbital orbit trajectory. It was fired by a first stage a little bit bigger than the first stage of the America rocket that could lift 100 tons in orbit. And this is a design that dates back from 1929. Eugene Zenger, the genius of, in 1933, Eugene Zenger was only 28 when he proposed this design. And I have a suspicion that it may have been secretly tested by the Germans, because some of the components of it I found tested in other research and development projects. Another craft that came from Mite was definitely a rocket-powered craft, because we do not see any air intakes on the front of the cabin. And here we see 1, 2 by 2, 4 engines rocket engines propelling the craft forward, then quite probably there were other rocket engines on the periphery that had been deleted from the drawing. These craft were made in diameters of 45 feet, 50 feet, 150 feet, and 450 feet. And I have a feeling that the larger diameters were capable of going to the moon and back on basically a few truckloads of kerosene or alcohol and a few truckloads of liquid oxygen. This is another orbital capability vehicle that the Germans had at the time. And this is the drawing of the craft. The cabin resembles very much the cabin of the stealth bomber, as one of the cameramen observed. And here on the periphery were the rocket engines that were spinning the whole outside disk of the craft that contained the fuel tanks. Armaments, crew compartment, and navigation were in the center cabin that was not spinning. And this is a photograph of a similar type craft with 5 turbojet or rocket engines shot from the underside. And we can see the exhausts of these engines spinning the outer shell of the craft. This is the drawing of the Shriver craft standing on the 4 legs. This is 5-story tall, this is 10 stories tall. The total craft stands 15 stories tall. It's quite a skyscraper. And this is about 200 feet in diameter. We're talking about a major interplanetary dreadnought. And right at the time when I was thinking that we have discovered almost everything there is to discover about the German saucers, there came a documentary film from the German secret society, the Thule Society, the Thule, T-H-U-L-E, the Thule Gesellschaft, and we realized that, can we do a little bit on the focus? And we realized that we knew very little about the German saucer development. That everything that we had from the literature, and I repeat, this is all public domain mass circulation literature, was nothing compared to the information that came out from this film. The Thule Society, the Greenland's Thule, the same T-H-U-L-E, is a German secret society. Somebody mentioned that this could be the German version of the Knights Templars, but regardless of the name or the label that is put to it, the Thule Society, as all other secret societies on the planet, are basically run by the same headquarters, regardless of the differences of opinion or bigger stages of disagreements or quarrels or outright warfare that they may engage from time to time. All the secret societies on the planet, as we shall see later, are basically governed by the same source. The Thule Society was formed in the early 1910s, and we see that they were using the swastika way back then. These were the theoreticians of the Nazi philosophy of the Third Reich, the founders and the masterminds behind the Nazi party in the SS, as have the Illuminati been the theoreticians and the masterminds behind the British and American societies for the last several hundred years. Anyway, from this film, the film purports to show some official SS documents of the most advanced craft of the Haunibu 1, 2, and 3 type and the Brill type that were built in Germany in very limited numbers. 2 pieces of the Haunibu 1, 7 pieces of the Haunibu 2, only 1 piece of the giant dreadnought, the Haunibu 3, and 17 pieces of the interceptor fighter, the Brill. The original drawings of the Brill craft, it's a 1-seater, 10-meter diameter, 30 feet diameter interceptor fighter with a remotely controlled cannon on the bottom, made for to be an aerial interceptor fighter. They produce all the way from Brill 1, this is Brill 9, Brill 2, all the way up to Brill 9, craft of similar